And again, I get no more countdown. Well, that's kind of bad. All right, well, let me try and pull up my stuff, make sure I'm up and running so I can check chat. You can see the did USA land on the moon as the main topic is just being something kind of fun that we'll poke around a bit for maybe a half hour. Um, Maybe we'll invite some other people on the stream. Who knows? But we have a movie out there about, I believe it's John Glenn, that nobody is watching. And I think it's because everybody knows that we never went there. We never went to the moon. So, Infinite Architect, yes, they did. Okay, I mean, that's fine. I mean, have your opinion on it. We're going to talk a little bit about that on both sides of the argument. I just thought it would be kind of fun. Um, yeah, Buzz Aldrin, who was there with them, and Buzz Aldrin says they never went there. And he's on video saying that. So there's that. And you just to say that America was so far more technologically advanced back in 1960 than they are today, because we can't go there today, is kind of hilarious. Kind of makes you go, how did they get there in the 60s? Because they never went. It was a movie studio. It was a movie studio. And it's been made fun of over and over and over again, even through Hollywood. So anybody who has headphones and a microphone who wants to come on and talk about this subject, I'll send you the link. This is going to be a fun thing. This has nothing to do with Christian doctrine or anything like that. It's just we're having fun. We got a movie out there that's bombing about John Glenn's life because the guy's a liar, and thought it'd be kind of fun. And I'm sure we'll get flat Earth people in here too, and all that stuff. And yeah, and just kick around stuff for a little bit. Sandy Sims Woods, bad screenplay and bad writer. I have not seen the movie, so I guess if you saw it, you, yeah, I from all appearances, it looks like it's a good movie. Like Apollo 13 is a good movie if you take it as science fiction. If you think that's really what actually happened, no. But if you take it as science fiction, Apollo 13 was a good movie too. So we have Infinite Architect as the only dissenter amongst the group. I'll pull up. Unfortunately, I have way too many tabs up because I'm doing a couple of studies and I have a live stream to do tomorrow that I'm actually researching for too. Now, this gets into science a little bit. Okay. Regardless of whether or not you can make orbit, their travel time to the moon and back, I don't know exactly what the hour time was, but they said the speed they were traveling was like 200,000 miles an hour or something, which is impossible. I don't care what kind of shenanigans you use, it's impossible. The most you can go, the jet exhaust, or not jets, the rocket exhaust that comes out of these rockets that go up into space, pushing on air, is 17,000 miles per hour or kilometers per hour or whatever they're using. And they're saying that they're going 2 or 3 times faster than that, which is impossible. It's physically impossible. You can't go faster than what your thrust is doing. You just can't. It's not possible. Not to mention, maybe I'll bring up the the picture of the moonlander, which has been edited since 1960, 69. I think it's 68. You're gonna tell me that this thing that's covered in duct tape and, tinfoil actually landed on the moon. Ugh, I can't get a bigger picture than that? Yeah, that's good enough. I can share that. So there you go, that's what landed on the moon. Oh, I clicked off it now because I'm trying to look at chat, so it doesn't show it anymore. Yeah. This is what happens when you have too many tabs up. There we go. That's what happens when you have too many tabs up. I like the use of tinfoil. That's really impressive here. The tinfoil. And for anyone who doesn't know, the vacuum of space is a negative force. So everyone is familiar with submarines. They go down, and their maximum depth is around 1,500 feet before the pressure of the entire ocean makes them collapse in on themselves. Now it's the exact opposite. And in space, there's supposed to be zero atmosphere, like nothing. So you're getting that negative pressure right away. Does this thing look like it could survive 1,500 feet underwater? No. Granted, it's the opposite pressure, but it looks like cardboard box with tinfoil. That's what it looks like. That's what it looks like to me. Yeah. I'm gonna have to stop my screen sharing. People are gonna go through all of my tabs that I have up. I don't want to spoil anything for tomorrow. All the stuff I got. Victoria Sarton, yes, NASA admits they cannot get past low Earth orbit. Absolutely. It's funny that everything that NASA puts out, when they say, "Well, why haven't you been back to the moon?" They go, "Well, we're trying to figure out how to protect the astronauts from, the Van Allen radiation belts." That's what they're trying to work on. And they actually said, "Well, maybe we could put water on them or something. We don't really know. We're still trying to work it out as to how to get through those Van Allen radiation belts." And like, so back before you didn't know anything about those Van Allen radiation belts, man, you could just fly straight through as long as you don't know about it. You know, hear no evil, see no evil, speak no evil. As long as you just close your eyes, put a blindfold on, you can fly straight through. But once you know about them, nope, can't go. That's why no other country has ever been there. And USA is in cahoots with all these other countries lying about this stuff. They're lying. They ain't sending people anywhere. We might have satellites up there doing stuff, but they're not sending people anywhere. Anywhere. No, no, no. I'll check chat a little bit now. I'm going to try and play a video and see if it even plays. It might not. Last time I tried to do this, it didn't. But I have Buzz Aldrin saying point blank, we never went. So, and you'll have to listen to my cell phone as it does its thing. Yes, Victoria, the cameraman landed first. Ronaldo Ortiz, Buzz Aldrin also tried to knock a guy out who asked him to swear on the Bible that he went. And Buzz was probably in his late 70s at the time. and he just got ticked and tried to take a swing. Granted, the guy was kind of a jerk. Okay, the guy who was making the documentary. There's a couple of them to check out called Astronauts Gone Wild. And the other one is a funny thing happened on the way to the moon. From what I can tell, they're pretty accurate. And there are some other documentaries out there that are just made by private people that have their own kind of interpretation on stuff. But Buzz Aldrin just asked him a simple question, or not Buzz Aldrin had asked a question. The documentary person just said, "Well, Buzz, do you swear in the Bible that you actually went to the moon?" And Buzz Aldrin hit him. And that says a lot. Because if it was me and I'd done it, I'd be like, yeah, you can come up with your conspiracy theories all you want to. Whatever, I was there. Bye. That's what I would do. And then Buzz hit him. Later on in Buzz's life, 10 years later, he's talking to a little kid and he's like, yeah, the funny thing is we never actually went. And yeah. Yep. There's your NASA space program that costs $100 million a day. Maybe it's 53 or $93 million a day. But anyways, over 365 days, that adds up to be quite a bit. And if all they're doing is putting on a Hollywood act for you, they need to do a little better. Sandy Sims, how many were alive when it happened? Not me. 15 years before my time. Probably. What is the actual date that they had the moon landing? Wasn't it 67? Because it was 63, I think, when Kennedy made the announcement. What I will try to do, and I have no idea if it will even work. I'll try to screen share this. And it might work, might not. Sometimes the audio doesn't come through for whatever reason. And there you got it. He told the little girl we didn't go there. And he continues on and says that what you really have to ask is why we've never been back and why we stopped going if we had actually been there in the first place. That is Buzz Aldrin himself saying that. And of course, the guy is nearly dead now. So yeah. There you got it. Infinite Architect, there will be a time when these questions will be answered by God once and for all. Yeah. And, they aren't very important as far as Christianity goes. The importance is people in these scientific things are lying because there's money in that. There's a lot of money in that. We need a study that shows we want this to happen. Here, Bob, we'll give you millions of dollars to go out and go do this study to show that this happens. We don't care how you do it, just do it. And that's what happens. That's the state of society. There isn't any real science out there. It's here you get your grant, This is what we want you to prove, and we don't care how you do it. And as soon as somebody comes out with some different information, gone, kicked out. The aliens chased them away. They're too scared to go back. Thank you, Vic. $54 million a day. I knew it was 94 or 54 or something like that. And yeah, 54 million bucks a day to lie. Do you believe that space station crap when they show you that they're just doing it underwater when they do their spacewalks and you can see bubbles on their own feed? The air bubbles coming out of their suits? Yeah, bunch of crap. Pathika Beatery. If SpaceX is researching rockets now, why would they need to do that if they already know how to bring back a rocket down to Earth from the moon or whatever? Well, because they don't. This is the funniest thing about it is China is trying to get to the moon by 2020. So like 75 years after the United States did it? Is the United States that far ahead of everybody else on the planet? The United States can't even do it. The United States. Obama said, "Oh, by 2018 we're going to go back to the moon and we're going to do all this stuff." And it's like, why can't you do it now? Why can't you do it now? There's no reason. There's no reason. How long did it take to get from the Model T to a regular car? Didn't take 50 years. Didn't take 50 years. You're talking about landing on the moon without any computers or anything. Come on. Come on. Valerie, do they pay taxes on that? No. NASA is a government agency, so we give them the money. United States gives them the money. And every other country in the world gives them the money too. Did anyone see that Elon Musk? I was going to do a video on it, but there was other things going on at the time where Elon Musk testing his rocket sent a Tesla into space, supposedly. Did anyone see that? And Elon Musk goes, he looks at the screen and he's on an interview and he goes, it has to be real because it looks really fake. And we have the money for much better CGI than that. That's his literal statement. It's like, what? What? Oh, by the way, you can't put a car in space. Tires would explode. The glass would shatter, according to what they tell us. Yes, everything would have melted because of you have no atmosphere to protect you from solar radiation. The tires would have exploded because of opposite pressure. Okay. You fill your tires up to like 55 psi or something like that. And that's you have the forces pushing in on you, much like a submarine. But then when you go out into space, those things go poof. And you could say that, okay, maybe they use solid tires because they accounted for this. They still would melt off and the paint would be bubbling. I mean, this thing is a meteorite. It'd be a meteorite. But no, it looks perfect. You can probably still even go up to the YouTube live feed for it, where we have Elon Musk's Tesla car around in orbit. What a charlatan. Absolute charlatan with that stuff. Alpha Omega, why would someone even ask if we landed on the moon? Well, because a lot of people believe it. Yeah. What's up, Jason? Yeah, I'm looking forward to do that feed with Brett talking about Calvinism. This is like a entertainment stream, and anyone who has something to say on the topic, like I said, if you got a microphone and headphones or something like that, I can shoot you a link and you can get on here, and we can talk back and forth. So a couple other things that I want to, bring up. A lot of this actually did come from research into flat Earth. Not saying I'm a flat earther. I'm just saying a lot of this sort of did come from that. The as I said, there's you can actually even search the YouTube video. Physicists out there that say that rockets cannot work in space, and they've proven it on on Earth in what are they pressure things, whatever. They take all the air out. Um, for some reason, I can't think of it right now. But you try and start a bottle rocket in there, and the thing goes nowhere because there is no atmosphere for the rocket to push on. And it kind of demonstrably proves that rockets cannot work in space. If space really has no medium, if space is truly a vacuum, that's what I was going for. If space is truly a vacuum and there's nothing there for a rocket to push on, it's not going anywhere. It's just going to sit there. You ain't getting anywhere with that. And, it could be satellites are up there that they're low enough in orbit where they're still pushing on something. I don't know. But going out to the moon and back? No. And I've already talked about the fact that the most powerful rockets that we use have a what is it here? Most powerful solid rocket engines. Solid rocket's always going to have way more power than a liquid one. Propels things to about 17,000 miles per hour. That's the speed of which things come out the back end. So you look at like if you're shooting a rifle, you got your rifle, and depending on the size of the charge, well, doesn't really matter, but you got it in your shoulder and you pull the trigger. Whatever action you have the equal opposite reaction in your shoulder. Okay, that's how a rocket works. Okay, so if you weren't even holding on to the weapon and you pulled the trigger, the bullet to go this way and the gun to go that way. But if there's nothing for anything to push against, like if you're in space, where is anything going to go? It, there's no shoulder holding the bullet. It's just going to kind of can't control that. And the big thing about the maximum that we have is a 17,000 mile per hour stuff that comes out the back of a rocket. Problem is, they tell you that those Apollo landings, they were traveling at like 35, 36,000. That's impossible according to physics. They're gaining energy. They're literally gaining energy. It's not possible to go faster than what your engines are kicking out. It's not possible. You'd like to think that, well, you just keep speeding up and speeding up and speeding up and speeding up and speeding up. No, eventually you're going to hit the point where your engines are kicking out the exact same speed as relative to what the motion is you're doing. You can't go any faster than 17,000 miles per hour. It's impossible, according to physics. They tell you it is. It is totally possible. Totally possible to do that. Yep. Israel is planning on to land on the moon soon, Truth Freeze. I haven't heard about that, and I doubt it, because what are they going to go to China for that? I mean, they don't have any space program that I'm aware of. Hunter Tyler, I lean more towards flat Earth, though. Way more science observations prove that than the ball Earth. Yeah, no problem with that. Miss Mira, I disagree with that. Bible verses prove a flat Earth. I don't. I don't agree with that. Sky everlasting. You are absolutely correct. The rockets go up, and then they get to the point where they can't get any higher, and then they level off, and they shoot out of your line of sight. That's what they always do. And they're saying we're slingshotting around and making an orbit. Really, your orbit always magically happens that you're going out over the sea to where no one else can see what you're doing, where you have your boat set up there to retrieve your rocket. I mean, that's what it is. It's what it is. They shoot the stuff up, they shoot it over the sea. That's why they launch from Cape Canaveral over the oceans. Very few witnesses, man. Very few witnesses. Truth Freeze NASA should be shut down. Yeah, but it'll never happen. It's just part of the government. I mean, but it's obvious. The reason that I'm even doing this live stream is not because I'm a hardcore. The government's lying to us, and I can be like Alex Jones. Man, the government's lying. You know, I've known this stuff for a long time, but I'm doing this because there is a movie that came out about John Glenn, and nobody cares. And I think it's because everybody understands that the whole thing was a hoax. Nobody cares how good the movie is. It's a lie. It's a lie. And that's why I'm doing the stream and just kind of doing a back and forth with people to see what they think. It's when you got Buzz Aldrin, who was up there with John Glenn, saying the whole thing was a lie. John Glenn is the only astronaut who actually went out there to be a poster boy for NASA. Nobody else wanted to do it. Everybody else was very ashamed. And like I said, you look at A Funny Thing Happened on the Way to the Moon and Astronauts Gone Wild on those documentaries about that, where you can see the people that are involved in it look like they had morals and thought they were doing a good thing. And when they told that, hey, what we're really going to do is film you out in the Nevada desert. And that's the other thing. You know, Rob Skiba's got a thing on this. The actual moon platform or moon landscape that they filmed on is still in the Nevada desert. They bombed out places to make it look like craters. And you can see it in NASA released footage of the test run that they did. And they said, well, this is where we're going to do a test run. And you can see they bombed out craters, and it was in the Nevada desert. And then you see them on the moon, and the hills are exactly the same. They're exactly the same. I mean, like, as a Hollywood set. Neil Armstrong, not John Glenn. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, Neil Armstrong, Buzz Aldrin. Miss Mira, the Bible does say flat Earth. Watch a video. The Bible does say flat Earth. Well, email it. Email me a link. Because if I type that in there, I'm not going to know which one you're talking about. I'll probably get 50 of them. Sky everlasting. How many of us know each other? Been around the block a bit. I know quite a few people on here. Hunter Tyler, Earth curvature chart doesn't stand a test. No, it does not. One of the reasons why we can't trust mainstream science and so-called facts. Well, the main, curvature of the Earth, I don't really care so much about. The evolution thing, which is a total fraud and a scam. The NASA space thing, total fraud and a scam. And you got to wonder how many other sciences out there are total fraud and a scam. Anything having to do with astrology or not astrology, whatever. Looking at stars. Ooh, it's 15 billion light years out here. We have this thing. That's all a bunch of crap. Michio Kaku said that they have like a 99% margin of error on the stuff that they're talking about. Michio Kaku makes fun of anybody who is in astronomy because they're kooks. Michio Kaku, he got in trouble for that, and he had to redact on that comment. But just like these guys are nutcases because it's all a bunch of crap what they're saying. And Michio Kaku's an atheist guy who says no, it's wrong. All this stuff you're doing is wrong. And Michio Kaku is one of these guys who is also in philosophical science that has you cannot prove. He's a mathematician. You can't prove anything that guy is saying. And he's saying these other guys are idiots. What can you trust as far as science goes? Truth freeze, we would be dizzy if we were spinning. And yeah, I'm a geocentrist, so we're not spinning. That's how I look at it. Pancake Cow. I wasn't here for the live stream. Do I think the moon landing is fake? 100% a crock. I'm going to watch my language. Miss Mira, this was to Victoria, but Rob went HR. I don't know what that means. Pothka Beatery. I like Polaris. Ever been stargazing? I own $1,000 worth of telescoping equipment. And once I figured out that they're just lights in the sky, I kind of don't care and really haven't pulled them out in about a year. And I mean, it looked nice. Honestly, my favorite thing to look at is the moon. Moon looks really cool. And you don't need a really big, powerful telescope to do that. It's really cool. I like it. Ronaldo Ortiz, Timothy 620. I have that actually bookmarked on my thing that I use for pretty much anyone I get into a evolutionist argument with, science argument with, because they're not coming from common sense a lot of times. Oh, HR is Hebrew roots? Do you guys think that Rob is Hebrew roots? Or you're talking about Rob Skiba, I'm assuming. Pancake Cow, why would the government lie to us about the moon landing? Because they needed a distraction from the Soviet threat, and they needed to prove their dominance on the world landscape. That's why they did it. Hunter Tyler, I'm pretty much in agreement. I think enough to see that the math that we are given to defend the globe model is not correct. It isn't correct. It can't be correct. 8 inches per mile squared cannot be correct. If you take into a 25,000 mile diameter of the Earth or circumference, 25,000 miles, you calculate the radius, comes into 8 inches per mile squared. And that has absolutely been proven completely false. Ron Coe, I became a geocentric guy now because I look at the sky and wonder how we can be the third planet and see the sun moving. NASA says we're 66 degrees from the lies, 666 degrees. Now, this is the thing that comes up, and it's actually in Rob Skiba's stuff. Okay. This comes up in flat Earth things. You look at NASA's calculations for the Earth's distance to the sun, the time, how much time it takes for the Earth to rotate around the sun, and the rotation of the Earth, and all of these different things, the mathematically all come out to 666. Can't be a coincidence. And I'm one of those people who's just going to look at it and say that they're all full of crap. Just going to say that whatever NASA tells me is garbage. And it all is CGI. If you ever look at like a rocket launch, or we haven't had a space shuttle now in a while since the last one blew up, but you look at a space launch, they always do the space launch. You see them go up and then they look like they're going down. And then you get, after they're out of view, then you get this nice CGI presentation of what's going on in space. And it's really horrible CGI. This is what's really happening, even though you can't see what's going on. We're going to film everything else, but we can't film that. We can film a Tesla up in space, but NASA does not have the money to actually film what's going on with the rocket the entire way up. They're a bunch of liars. They're a bunch of liars. At max, if the Earth doesn't move, then what makes a year? Well, God figured it out. We still have the rotations of everything around us. God makes up the seasons. That really, whether or not the Earth moves or not, has nothing to do with seasons. All has to do with the sun. Lesser extent, the moon, but yeah. Sky everlasting. For the distance from the sun, you need to read Samuel Rowbotham's Zetetic astronomy book. He has done all the experiments. With that, I'm going to assume that everyone is using wrong stuff. Okay. Everyone, I mean, I know you learn in school that the speed of light is like 5,280 miles per second. I don't know if that's even right, because this is stuff that gets shoved out of my mind because it's not right. And depending on what you're using as the calculation for that, you're going to be wrong. What if the speed of light is instant? Everyone says, well, the Earth can't be stationary and everything moving around it because the stars are zillions and billions of whatever light years away. Well, what if they're not that far away, number one? And number two, what if the speed of light is instant? Then it wouldn't matter how far away they are. I mean, you can slow light down just by putting it through water. Okay. The idea that speed of light is a constant is retarded. It's retarded. It's yeah, see the speed of light. No, no. You can slow the speed of light way down. You want to. The sun is close and small, actually. It just refreshed, so I don't know who said that, but I believe that it is a lot closer than what 194 million miles or something they say. 170 million. I don't remember. See, information when I learn that it's garbage, I don't bother to retain those facts in my head at all. Like, okay, that's garbage. Proving that's wrong. Deb Jones, the sun and moon rotate above the earth. Oh, this is to Marvel, I guess. At one point, they will cross each other as they move on their own rotation on their own speed. Well, Deb, here's a thing that's an interesting thing. Um, you would think that the reason you'd have a half moon or um, a partial moon as opposed to a full moon is because the Earth is blocking the sunlight from getting there. Turns out that's absolutely not the case. And I don't even think astronomers argue that point at all. There are many a times when you have photographs where you have a half moon at the same time as the sun in the sky. You know, you still see the moon in the sky and you still have the sun over here, and they're in the same part of the sky. Well, there's no Earth in between there. So how can you have a half moon? There's something else that's going on with that. As far as eclipses and stuff, yeah, probably. Yeah, it's probably the Earth getting in the way. I don't know. Most people that Alpha Mega, I think most people who believe that the landing of the moon was fake also believe that 9/11 was an inside job. And you know, I agree. I'm one of those guys. 9/11 was total inside job, at least in some regard. It was. And we're talking America here. A bunch of guys with box cutters taking over planes. No, we're Americans. We would have overpowered them. There wasn't that many people on each plane, 3 or 4 out of a plane, a flight of 150 to 200 people. Americans, man. That's not gonna happen. And there's a lot of other shady stuff with the 9/11 things, and I think that those are the big ones. The moon landing and 9/11 are pretty much the top 2. And people that get into that, the ones who are interested, research it and they go, yeah, some big deals here, some big problems. Joyce, according to flat earth people, the moon and the sun moves around the earth. The moon and the sun moves around the earth. Yes. And same with geocentrist. Yeah, the moon and the sun move around the earth. Miss Mira, every eye will see Jesus. How is that possible in a ball? When the rapture happens, we go up, not down, or sideways from the earth. That's a very good point, Miss Mira. It is. And that might be worth bringing up tomorrow with Brett on here, but it is a very good point. Down for everyone to me on earth is the center of the earth. But every eye is going to see him on a ball. And yeah, I get what you're saying. There is no one down for everybody, like a universal down. down is going to be up for somebody else. It's a good point. That's a good point. Pancake out at max. I don't understand why NASA lies to us about Earth. Well, because they have to. I'm not saying that the Earth is flat with this. Okay, we're not talking really flat Earth. It comes into it because a lot of the information about NASA comes out because of flat Earth stuff. But we're not really talking about that. We're talking about the moon landings. Why does NASA keep putting out this information? They have to. Because if it comes out in any way, shape, or form that we did not actually go to the moon when we said we did, and the whole thing was a big farce, the government loses all credibility. They have to keep it going. They have to. And the reason, a lot of these countries, like we're giving Russia money, we're giving China money, we're giving all these countries money, is to keep them shut up, to keep them so they can't say anything about it. We'll give you a few $100 million here or there or whatever. Don't talk about this. And we'll have a partnership space program. Just don't bring it up. Here's 100 million, 200 million, what, 2-3 trillion. We don't care. We're Americans. We got the money. And that's what it comes down to. Infinite Architect Las Vegas shooting was completely fake. No one was shot. I don't know about that. I stopped watching the news several years ago, probably 4 or 5 years ago. So I don't really know anything about it. Oh, Sky Everlasting, Admiral Byrd. I think Admiral Byrd was smoking some meth. And it's kind of been confirmed that a lot of that stuff comes from his notes. And his notes were kind of confirmed to be faked by somebody else to publish a book. What is true is that they did go to there is an ice wall somewhere, and Werner von Braun went down there and a whole bunch of other people, and they were doing experiments, and they launched a whole bunch of nukes to try and break a so-called barrier. I mean, that's the flat earth thing, is that there's a wall or something that's impenetrable. That's why they don't believe in satellites and they don't believe in this other stuff. But they launched like 20 nukes to try and blow up this barrier. Why they would do that, I don't know, but that's the story. That's the story of how it goes. But see, the whole thing with Admiral Byrd is in that same story. He talks about flying into the center of the earth and meeting aliens and stuff like that. So you can't take that. You can't take that as being really reliable. Sorry, things refresh and then I have to scroll way back up. Victoria Sarton, if you read the government's own documents, they admit to many things, including navigation on a flat, non-rotating plane. Everybody does. They don't have to admit to it. There is not one job on the planet, anywhere, that says that the Earth is anything other than stationary. People have built 100-mile-long bridges in China. Wouldn't you have to calculate the curvature of the Earth? They didn't. They built it flat on a plane. Water. It's good flat Earth argument. Water in a glass is always going to be flat. It's not curved. It's not bendy water. It always is on a plane. And that's where you get that term from. On a plane. Nobody uses the Coriolis effect in anything. Anything. And people will bring up, well, Marine snipers, they calculate for all this. No, they don't. No, they don't. They calculate X and Y. This is how far the distance target. And then they calculate windage. And you know what they do? They shoot a shot and then their spotter says, nope, you're off. You got to click over here. All right. That's what they do. It's no weird mystic thing. Otherwise, how could battleships shoot 15 to 20 miles with their big 16-inch guns? They're not calculating Coriolis effect. They go X and Y plot. This is how much powder we need. This is what's going to get the shell there. And then you have a spotter and the shells land and the spotter goes, take a little less powder out or elevate down by 5 degrees, something like that, and you'll hit the target. That's how it works. There isn't any funky curvature of the Earth's business. There's no spinning Coriolis effect. None of that. It's all fantasy. It's all fantasy. I know a little bit about military stuff. It was kind of one of my big hobbies when I was a kid. And I got both my brothers are military. Kenneth Ramsey, I'm giving too much credit to the people in 9/11 flights. Well, I don't even know if there's people on those flights. A lot of the people that they released are actually fake. So I don't know. I don't know much about it. It was like 20 when that happened. I was working my job at CompUSA. Researching this stuff wasn't a real big priority. In-depth study in this form of Bible proof references. Proofs references for what? Flat Earth? I mean, there isn't anything in the Bible that states that the Earth is flat. Victoria Sarton, most high-level NASA employees are Freemasons, including the astronauts. Well, they're also Mormons. I think out of there's been 280, I think, total people that have been in space. And out of that, it's been like 220 people. They're all Mormons. It's like you have to be a Mormon to go into space. The other people are from other countries and things. Well over 2/3 are Mormons. You got to be a Mormon in order to get into the space program. Mormon's not like a huge, I mean, if they were Catholic, I could see that because there's a lot of Catholics. There's like 1.5 billion, something like that. But Mormons? How many of those guys are there? A couple 100 million, maybe? How many of those guys were there in like 1967 to 1972? Not very many. Not very many of them guys. Yeah. And a lot of these cults, they are all Freemasonic. Mormons, especially, very, very Freemasonic. Illuminati, whatever you want to call it. Joyce, why don't they go to the moon again if they already went? Because they can't. They never went in the first place. They just want a whole bunch more money off the taxpayer to pretend to go again. And now they got better CGI. Many pilots admit to flat Earth navigation from Miss Mira. I know this is, I guess it's unavoidable to talk about flat Earth, but yes, a gyroscope does not work on a globe. It can't work on a globe. Now, I've played Flight Simulator since I was about 12. Okay. I understand how this stuff works. Gyroscope is not going to work on a globe. There are a lot of reasons for that, but I'm just telling you it's not. Does that mean that I'm coming out as a flat earther? No. It just means it's a question that I have that I can't answer. Just like they can't answer why you have constellations in the north that go one way and constellations in the south that go the other way, and why we have different constellations. It's just one of those questions. But I will say that yes, pilots, a lot of people who come out that are in a big flat earth camp are pilots for that very reason. Yep. Sky Everlasting, NASA and every country has a space program, is to keep the masses away from the truth of God and the Bible. Um, there's a lot of other ways they can do that. I don't know that it's necessarily that. I think the evolution agenda that's been in schools is definitely that, and making, people think that they're monkeys is definitely part of that. NASA is maybe a small piece. I think it's always been just kind of, what do you call that, entertainment aspect of government, where they really NASA, what have they ever really done? I mean, what have they NASA ever actually accomplished? They say, "Oh, because of NASA, we have all these space age technologies." It's like, no, those are probably there beforehand and probably would have been made regardless of what NASA did. It's not like NASA went into space and went and created something. Nope. They didn't do nothing. They launched their ship up and then they orbit the Earth. And what do they tell us? Nothing. They told us nothing. Joyce, I think they lie to us for money they can get from us by telling us we need to go to other planets. Well, NASA is always going to get their money because they're a government agency. It's not like NASA is running on donations. They're always going to get funding, but they're always going to have new projects in order to get more funding from Congress. And all the idiots that thought we went to the moon in Congress, and we're like, oh, we got a moon mission planned. Oh, I mean, they probably already know it's a fraud because these people in Congress aren't stupid. A lot of them, there's okay. Some of them aren't stupid, but yeah, they have to come up with projects just to keep getting their money. Joy saying that people don't research for themselves. Yeah, and it's sad because you really come into a really good understanding. Like somebody will ask me a question about something, and this happened to Brett too. While I was talking to him on the phone yesterday, where we really don't fully understand the scope of a subject that we're talking about. We have a kind of a general idea, but somebody shoots you a question and I'm like, okay, well, I know kind of what I'm going to talk about, but let's do some research on it. And as you get more and more into your research, you're like, wow, I really have a pretty deep understanding of it to the point that when you actually do a video, you cover a really small part of the information that you know. But, at least you know it. That's how it is. Alpha Omega, what was the operation by Navy SEALs in Pakistan for? Why did the helicopter crash at bin Laden's house? Oh, you mean that fake thing where they said they killed bin Laden? And then those Navy SEALs, their Black Hawk helicopter mysteriously went down. Everybody who was involved in that operation. Yep. Victoria Sarton, bin Laden was a U.S. operative named Tim Osmond. I don't know what his true name was, but bin Laden is a U.S. operative. Um, the only people who are allowed to fly out on 9/11, George Bush Sr. was having dinner, or yeah, George Bush Sr. was having, I guess it would have been breakfast. I don't know where they were in the country, but it was having a meeting with bin Laden's parents. And those people were the only people who were allowed to fly out of the country. I think flights were shut down for 2 or 3 days back then. But bin Laden's parents, go. We'll get you on a private plane and you can get out of here. Anybody else be shot down, but nope. Also, Saddam Hussein was CIA. That's confirmed. I don't think we killed Saddam Hussein either. Maybe killed one of his lookalikes or something like that. I guess it's conspiracy night, man. To open up a whole can of worms. Interesting. Kenneth Ramsey, interesting that recent initiative of NASA is to be communist for Islam. What's that all about? I don't know what's I don't know what you're talking about because I literally only look for news at Drudge Report. So I'm not exactly sure, Kenneth, if NASA is going Islam or not. They've always been very paganistic, I guess you call it. That's kind of the whole what NASA's always been about. Alpha Omega, you believe many of us are conspiracy theorists. Yeah, probably. Oh man, now we're getting into JFK, Deb? Come on. I suppose it was around the time of the moon landings there. Well, the thing is with conspiracy theories is people thought that getting into the Vietnam War was a conspiracy theory and getting into World War II for America was a conspiracy theory. It's not a theory. The people involved in it came out and said, yeah, this is exactly what we did. We did false flags. And the idea that Roosevelt did not see, 1,000 Japanese fighters rolling into their biggest harbor is ridiculous. The radio operators watching it even reported it up the chain. We got a massive flight in here that's incoming. We don't think it's our bombers. No, just ignore it. Ignore it. That's not a conspiracy theory. That's conspiracy fact. It's a fact that the United States went into war into Vietnam for allowing, or actually, I think it was Saudi Arabian planes, telling them to attack one of our destroyers that was in that area. And then you blame it on the Vietnamese. It's a fact. There's no theory about that. It's a fact. It's in history. You can look it up on Wikipedia. The start of the Vietnam War. You just look it up. Comes out 30 years later, but yeah. I'm gonna have to rename this the Conspiracy Night. I'll have to do more of these and actually have guests on. It's kind of fun. Really only wanted to talk about the moon landing though, because we have that moon landing movie that's out. And I'm a bit of a movie buff. I do movie reviews and things like that. And I thought it was funny that was completely tanking, even though you got Ryan Gosling and it's a big, huge production and nobody cares. It opened this last weekend. Venom has been out for 2 weekends. And the first man, the one landing on the moon, I think made $16 million. And Venom in its second weekend made like $35 million. It goes to show what people are interested in. They don't care about that fantasy stuff. We want to see Venom in the comic books. Sky Everlasting. Yes, I did start it. I did. I did. Um, yeah, wife mentioned it, and I realized that it actually was on Drudged. How how bad the reception is for that Moon movie. And I thought, it'd be kind of a fun topic to deal with that. And we'll get back into hardcore doctrine tomorrow. Right now, we can have fun. We'll just have fun. The Irish Rose, you like my movie review? Cool, cool. I do a lot of them. If I remember, I put them on the playlist, but I don't always. I usually do it on my Patreon. It usually ends up being about a month, maybe a month and a half. I put them out on Patreon first, and then I put them on my main channel. Ron Cole blames me. It's all my fault, man. Every week I should pick a conspiracy to study. You're going to call me Max Jones. You're going to have to buy my bone broth now. We're going to be my bone broth. Thanks, Miss Mira. We try to keep it fun. Brett, what's going on? We were talking, did we land on the moon? Oh man, people are just showing up now. It's like 7:00 for me. Where do you guys live? You guys must live on the other side of the planet. Aaron, good conversation tomorrow. We're doing Calvinism, Arminianism, and where we stand. We're doing a actual Bible talk today. We're having fun. CJPWI, I'll be selling bone broth. I'm going to do my conspiracies. We need my storable foods. Infinite Architect. Yeah, you're right. Well, it's still over there. Oh, that's okay, man. I was just asking if you want to talk about whether or not we landed on the moon or not. I'd do it. I'd actually would do a satire of Alex Jones, but there are so many like pastors out there that do the exact same thing, or people that call themselves pastors, that there's no point. And Alex, if he's a saved guy, maybe, but he's not a Christian preacher or anything, so I don't really care. I mean, the closest that I come to though is Paul Big Liar. That guy is insane. That guy is insane. And he reminds me exactly of Alex Jones. And I think I watched a 20-minute video of him talking, because I really don't care what the guy has to say. I can't even remember what it was about, but he had a guest on there talking about, are we in the end times? And it's like he had to stop his guest 30 seconds into the question so he could advertise something and go to a commercial. It's like, now, Billy, what do you think about this? And Billy be like, well, Paul, what we have is obviously we're in the end. Let me go to our sponsors here. We got our books. It's that kind of a thing. It's just like Alex Jones. And there's enough of that where I don't need to. Alex Jones makes a meme of himself enough. He doesn't need me on there. Sky Everlasting, what planet? I'm on Australia. It's 10:25 a.m. It is 6:56 p.m. here. Brett, we landed on the moon a long time ago and you've seen the video. Well, there you go. There you have it. See, we did do it. Brett says so. He saw the video, even though I know that Brett was not alive when it happened. Joyce, who took pictures of the astronauts who were on the moon? They apparently took perfectly framed shots from chest-mounted cameras of everything they were doing, and the person who built the actual cameras that went into space said that there was no special shielding on those cameras. They were regular cameras built for a shoulder or a chest harness. So, what happens with film? 35 millimeter film. You expose it to the sun on Earth and you wreck your film. What happens when you go out into space where you have no atmosphere and it's not shielded? You wreck your film. But they come back with crystal clear pictures, man. Crystal clear. Technicolor probably didn't exist in 1967, Brett. I don't know if you wanted to come on or not, Brett. I was kind of going to shut it down. All right, Brett's going to go eat. Well, there we have it for conspiracy night. People want me to do a conspiracy night every week. I don't know if I have that many conspiracies. And like I said, a lot of the things that are called conspiracies or conspiracy theories are conspiracy facts. What it is. Um, maybe not so much with the moon landing, but when you have Buzz Aldrin saying that we never went there on video, it kind of says that we never went. And as again, free documentaries that are on YouTube, Astronauts Gone Wild. And I said it earlier, but I can't remember it. Astronauts Gone Wild, and A Funny Thing Happened on the Way to the Moon is what it's called. Those two ones are really big. Now, there's a couple of points in there that I disagree with, but for the most part, it's NASA's footage that they're using for these documentaries. And yeah. Infinite Architect, I hope you don't. I'll do a conspiracy theory week. If I do, it's going to be, I might do a sarcasm kind of thing. You know, I can only beat Brian over the head so much. I have to go off to other more interesting people. Yeah, Agenda 21, that's all Alex Jones stuff. Sky Everlasting. And we are kind of covering the conspiracies here anyway because they are all linked up. Well, a lot of it is. I mean, and it does tie back into secret societies, paganism, Satan worship, whatever you want to. That whole thing where they have like they're doing what is that thing called? It's out in Europe where they have a ring and they're smashing atoms together or whatever, and they're trying to open a rift to a new dimension. All those people are like Satanists. They all kind of in the same camp. Brett, I believe it was a hoax just to say USA was first. Then eventually we did go to the moon. I disagree because we've never been back, and it's kind of been proven that we don't have the technology. NASA admits that we don't have the technology to go there right now. So in 50 years, we lost technology. And I did show a picture of the thing that they said we landed on. Cardboard box with tinfoil on it. Yeah. Aaron, good. Thanks for telling me about what conversation is tomorrow. Got studying to do. Got a little idea on it. Aaron Good, just look up the Wikipedia stuff. I read through the Wikipedia article and it basically sums it up. I mean, obviously, you're going to have what would be called hyper Calvinist, and you're going to have all these different, just like in any Christian sect, you're going to have people in different camps. But the very basics, like the 5 points of Calvinism, are in there. The very basics of it are there. The very basics of Arminianism are in there. And the Wikipedia articles I thought were done pretty well. And that's pretty much what I'm going to use. I might have some additional content, but I can talk all day and long just on the wiki article. Joyce, is the moon spinning? It always looks the same when it's a full moon. I don't believe so. I don't think the moon does spin. Call me crazy, but I don't think it spins. They say, no, it spins at the exact same rotation speed as what the Earth is, so it always looks the same. And it's like, isn't that convenient? Because if it wasn't spinning and it was sitting there motionless the entire time, pretty much the laws of inertia, if the moon is spinning around the Earth, the laws of gravity and inertia is going to make that thing spin. Going to make it spin. Doesn't spin. No, I don't think it does. I've been looking through that thing for 10 years in my telescope. It looks the same every time. And it looks the same from wherever you are on the planet, too. Oh, CERN. Yeah, Sky Everlasting. Yeah, it was CERN. Miss Mirror, my Brian satire videos. Yeah, I don't like to do it too much. I just kind of wait for him to put out something, and then I'll put out my thing. My garden tractor video blog, that was on my Patreon for like 2 weeks before I put it out because I was waiting because I knew he's going to do his dirt bike video log. And I'm like, that's when I'm going to put it out. When he comes out with stupid stuff, I'll do stupid stuff too. I like doing satire stuff, but it's hard to film anywhere other than my room because it's cold outside and it's been rainy and garbage. Run code third, just like Fortnite with the rifts on the map. I don't play Fortnite anymore. The rifts on the map. I don't know. I haven't played Fortnite, so I don't know what you mean. Hunter Tyler, besides studying the King James Bible, investigating conspiracies is something that I kind of got hooked into. Yeah. And it's cool, but be careful with that. I mean, it gets to a point where you get really, really, really depressed when you find out how much stuff is true. And as much as I know about things, I kind of had to go, you know what? There isn't anything I can do to affect that. All I can do is preach Jesus Christ and hope God takes care of me. What do other countries say about the Hollywood mood landing? Well, there are some that say it's completely bogus, but we are giving for no reason. We're giving hundreds of millions of dollars to Japan, Russia, and China. These are countries that don't need the money. They really don't. And I'm pretty sure it's for the fact of keep this secret quiet, and we'll let you into the money scheme. And I think that's what that's all about. Sky everlasting. Moon is a static disk of light. Probably. I don't know. Sky everlasting, same as Earth, not a sphere. Well, who knows? I mean, it doesn't, honestly, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter if you believe the Earth is flat or if it's sphere. It doesn't matter. All I know about the argument is that I can prove the information that I'm given without a doubt. I can prove the information that I'm given is wrong as far as a sphere Earth. However, you also, like I said, have the constellation problem where you have counter rotating constellations, whether in the North Pole or you're in the South, or you're in Australia, looking at the Southern Cross. How do you explain on a flat Earth having two different sets of constellations that spin different ways? When someone figures that out and tells me, I'll probably be a flat earther, but until then, it's not going to happen. Deb Jones, every ancient culture thinks the Earth was flat and stationary. I think the Jews thought it was a globe also, but I might be mistaken on that. They believed it was geocentric, though, which is what I believe. It's a globe, geocentric, and everything rotates around the Earth in pretty close proximity to the Earth, too. Victoria Sarton CERN is a modern day Tower of Babylon. Well, what's funny about CERN is the people who created it. This is like what people have to understand where their science comes from. Somebody gets a crazy idea and they don't believe it themselves, but they have to come up with a project so whatever foundation or whatever university they're working for can get funded. So you have to come up with some big, exciting project. So even though they went into it, they knew the thing isn't going to work. They know it's a dumb idea and they know nobody is going to fund it, but they at least have to put out a project idea. And wouldn't you know it got funded? And now the people there's like 12 guys on it. And the people are like, well, what are we going to do now? I mean, we need like 20 miles of space. And, this is going to cost hundreds of billions of dollars. What are we going to do now? And they're given the okay for the money to go do what they're going to do. These people didn't ever believe the thing was going to work or do anything. Yeah, they are colliding like electrons together. So what? What's that going to do? These people put out theories because they are paid to put out theories. And then someone gives them the money and they're like surprised. They're like, what? Now I have to prove this stuff? This is modern day science. This is what it is. Infinite architect. Earth is not flat. Good point with the constellations. Yeah, that's about all I got. I mean, because I'm familiar with that. And Brett brings this up quite a bit too. That's what we're familiar with. I don't know how, if it was a flat plane, you'd have counter rotating constellations without somewhere in the planet you would look up in the sky and there'd be constellations and you just kind of would see them, like a mixing bowl. You kind of intermingle, something like that. I don't know. Jason, yeah, we will find out everything in heaven. That's why, these are like fun topics, okay? Just kicking back. Joyce, I saw in a video a pilot admitting the Earth is flat. Well, yeah, from a pilot's perspective, it is. I already talked about that. Basically, a pilot, and even to a lesser extent, a boat, operates on a gyroscope. And gyroscopes do not care about anything, okay? They don't care. A gyroscope is a top, okay? It's like you spin your top. Spins up. They spin about 30,000 rotations a minute, and it's a big disc of metal, and it's sitting on a gimbal. And once that disc is spun up, wherever you are, it's going to maintain level no matter what you do. And whatever this gimbal gyroscope is attached to is going to rotate around that gyroscope. And you're talking about planes and you're talking about boats. If you're going over a curve, this gyroscope does not care. It's not going to auto correct to go over the curve. you're going to go flat and straight the entire way. So it's an incredibly good argument by the pilots. That's why there's a lot of flat earth people are pilots. And military people too, because military operates by line of sight laser guidance, which can't happen when you're shooting something 100 miles away with a laser pinpointed on it. It's not possible. Not possible at all. Okay, well, be going for hour and a half, something like that. If you got some fun conspiracy topics, you can go ahead and put them in the comment section or send them to maxbauerproductions@gmail.com, and I'll take a look at them and we'll see. We have just some fun things. The only other thing that I was going to do today was a pre-recorded video about chick tracks, and I'm like, I kind of covered that yesterday about the chick tracks thing. Was open discussion, so I really didn't want to make a video on it. So that's what I had, and I thought, did we land on the moon? Be kind of a fun one. And of course, it goes into a little bit of flat Earth stuff and some other things, and we can talk 9/11. And everybody remember, buy your bone broth, okay? Buy your bone broth. maxbauerproductions@gmail.com. Deb Jones, you are correct. That is exactly what it is. Yes, yes, yes. All right. That's all I got. And we'll see you tomorrow at 6 p.m. Central Standard Time. We're going to be here with Brett, and we might have some other people on if they want to join in. We'll see. And we're going to talk about Calvinism, Arminianism, which should be fun. Hunter Tyler, this is really random, but after watching Hebrews 11, you convinced me to look into faith alone in every dispensation. Find that to be the case. Yes, Hunter, we are faith alone in every dispensation. Well, I shouldn't say that. I have a caveat. And when we go into the millennial kingdom, I don't know. I'm going to say that from the time of Adam all the way to where we are today, it's faith alone. Going off into the millennial kingdom, I don't know. I don't know why it would change, but I can't dogmatically say one way or the other. And thanks for watching the Hebrews 11 video. And that came out for various reasons about people who have dispensational salvation on their mind, which I disagree with. So that's why I did that video. And I'm glad you enjoyed it. All right. So that's what we got. Hour and a half, pretty good stream. Thank you all for coming. And I think with that, we're going to be out of here.